You're watching the RWL YouTube channel.
Alright fans, well after a brief intermission, we are back for the second half of tonight's RWL Rage in Fairfax, Virginia. Don, Myron, and Christy here with all the action on the second hour. 5 spectacular matches on tap, and Myron, some of these are really outstanding. I know, right? I mean, I'm telling you, I don't like to toot my own horn, and I usually don't. But this year is going to be out of this world.
I toot a pretty mean horn myself, so let me do it for you, Myron Honey. Between Rage and Snarl, I think the first couple of weeks this year have been off the chain.
I couldn't agree with Christy more, Myron. And now we're going to start off the second half with another shining example of your handiwork in a battle of Lady Amazons, with Asia Kong returning after a long absence, set to face the Women's International Champion Dione the Titaness. Madam Snoo Snoo.
Welcome back. Our second half opening non-title contest, one fall, with a 15-minute time limit. Introducing first, from Japan, weighing 320 pounds, Asia Kong.
Myron, it's been about 11 months since we last saw Asia Kong compete for the Women's Gulf Coast Championship against Patty Powers, a match she obviously lost. Where has she been for 11 months?
I guess you could say she's been on sabbatical. She simply hasn't competed. It's as plain and simple as that. But she's back now, and in line up with my new philosophy, I thought her in a match with Madam Snoo Snoo again.
You know they can't stand each other.
I know.
So I would imagine you didn't have any problem getting Kong to sign.
Obviously not.
Her opponent from Milan, Italy, weighing 265 pounds, the RWL Women's International Champion, Dione the Titaness.
Okay, fans, this was before we were big on YouTube, but just blowing up on Facebook, okay? 2012, and Asia Kong was thrown off a stage by Dione, 15 or 20 feet to the floor below, pretty much destroying Kong's run at the time. She didn't come back for like 6 years. She and Dione will probably have beef forever, end of story.
The only difference being is that now Dione the Titaness is Women's International Champion once more, and Asia Kong might have designs on that belt, based on her hatred for Dione the Titaness.
It's gonna be an even match, though. This isn't some cruiserweight gal Dione can just ragdoll all over the place.
And that's why I booked it. Every time these two get together, it's explosive.
A battle of ladies division Amazons, it does not get much better than this. Referee Tom Kanamura sounds the bell. Asia Kong runs right into Dione, gets knocked right down, followed up with a leg drop and a stomp right to the face. The Italian Testarossa, almost impenetrable. A dragon screw from Asia Kong. Takes a run and rebounds off the ropes, and a crushing splash to the Titaness. Asia Kong goes for it a second time. And I'm pretty sure by now Dione's had the wind knocked out of her. There's a kick to the head from Asia Kong. And a knee to the skull. Asia Kong misses her stomp. Dione tags her with a right. The Titaness rounds up Asia Kong in a front cradle, slams her into the turnbuckle, hurls her out towards center ring. Dione with Asia Kong down on the canvas, now really beginning to go to work. The Women's International Champion, always in action and always competing in some of the wildest matches. Recently injured timeless Toni Storm in her previous matchup. A double axe handle from Asia Kong, finally putting Dione down on the canvas. She misses with the knee to the side of the head. Dione grabs a hold of her and lays in a set of short wrist clutch clotheslines, goes behind on her, and a kick right to the face. Asia Kong counters quickly back up to a standing position, gets a hold of Dione, deadlifts her. The Titaness rounded way in the middle of the air by Asia Kong, and a display of power and slammed right down to the canvas. Asia Kong quickly regaining control of things here as these two fairly even match. A stomp to the back from Asia Kong. Kong gathers up Dione, carries her up in her front cradle and retaliates by slamming her into the turnbuckle and hurling her center ring. Asia Kong all the way up on the top turnbuckle. Dione making her way to a standing position. Asia Kong waits for it, and her shoulder tackle takes Dione right back down to the mat again. A stomp to the leg from Asia Kong, who is now firmly in control of the situation. Dione the Titaness quickly losing her advantage here. Asia Kong rounds her up for a bear hug, but no good. A set of hard right hands makes the argument with some degree of validity. Asia Kong whipped to the ropes. A collision. Asia Kong taken down by Dione. Both ladies rolled to the outside. Dione again repeating the move. Short wrist clutch clotheslines. Goes behind, and another wicked kick to the face to Asia Kong. Asia Kong counters quickly back up on her feet on the outside. Referee Tom Kanamura continuing to count a quick splash to Dione, and she's taken several of those already. Asia Kong rounds her up but catches an enziguri. A foot right to the side of the head of Asia Kong. Dione goes behind. German release suplex on Asia Kong. Asia Kong counters with a shot to the midsection. These two, what a matchup, Myron. I knew it was going to go good. From a fireman's carry into a Samoan drop from Asia Kong to Dione the Titaness. Dione rolled back inside the ring by Asia Kong, who again makes her way to the top turnbuckle. Here she comes, an elbow right across the back of Dione. Dione, gathered up by Asia Kong, quickly countered into a back body drop. The Italian Testarossa not being fooled by that one. Asia Kong rounds her up on the outside, a rib breaker, as the referee engages the count. Asia Kong rolling Dione back inside. They lock up. Dione with the upper hand whips her into the corner, and there's a shoulder right into the midsection of Asia Kong. She gets her by the ankles, alley-oops her out of the corner. And just like that, oh, look at this, a quick counter and a quick pin from Asia Kong. 1, 2, but no. Dione powering out. Asia Kong going right back to work, trying to maintain the advantage she's got at the present time. Dione quickly rolls back up to a standing position, charges. There's a clothesline, putting Asia Kong in the far right corner. Asia Kong grabbed by the ankles again. Another alley-oop assist out of the corner from Dione the Titaness. Asia Kong rolls to the outside. Dione with some pretty bad intentions. She's warming up the bus for sure. Here she comes over the top rope, and whoa! A face full of butt. And now, persistent stamping from Dione. Asia Kong runs into her, into the ring post again, into the barricade again. Asia Kong just being bounced all over the place like a pinball. Dione the Titaness suddenly regaining control of this matchup again, with an opponent who is definitely a fairly even match. Asia Kong has given Dione the Titaness quite a battle so far. Dione with an elbow to the face of Kong, scoop slams her. Asia Kong rounded up again. Dione with a clubbing overhead right takes her down to one knee. The Italian Testarossa opens up with a right, a chop, sets it up. There's a blow right to the chest of Asia Kong. Asia Kong quickly back up, fails to connect with her move, winds up hitting her own head. Dione the Titaness with a hard right, spins her around, goes behind. Asia Kong counters with an elbow. Dione with a double choke lift. Look at this. But Asia Kong countering it into an arm drag. What a match these two behemoths are delivering here tonight. Fall away slam from Asia Kong to Dione the Titaness. Dione back inside the ring again, courtesy of Asia Kong. laid out center ring. And Asia Kong, with the spinning back fist, down goes Dione the Titaness. She is in big time trouble. Asia Kong rounds her up for the military press, but Dione quickly counters a clothesline, takes down Asia Kong to the canvas. Dione the Titaness stalking Asia Kong, a kick to the midsection. Dione sets up the pump handle and into a sit-out powerbomb with a beautiful pin. 1, 2. Again, no. That should have been the end of the match, and it would have been with any other human being besides Asia Kong. Asia Kong, rounded up by Dione, hung up into the tree of woe. And that's not a good situation. She quickly counters with a kick to the head, back to a standing position, misses the jumping neckbreaker, catches a kick to the chest from Dione. Quickly shoves her away, back up to a standing position is Asia Kong, locks up with Dione the Titaness, has her up in a front cradle, and another fall-away slam to Dione the Titaness. The Italian Testarossa counters with a double ear clap, swings, spins her around with the right, rounds her up over the shoulders for an electric chair drop, but Asia Kong with an amazing counter with an inverted Frankensteiner. A dragon screw from Dione the Titaness. Dione takes herself to the top turnbuckle. Here she goes, elbow right across the chest of Asia Kong. Here's a pin with a hook of the leg. 1, 2. And that is going to do it. Dione the Titaness picking up the win over Asia Kong by pinfall. Let's get the official time from Aria Mitchell.
Here's the time, 8 minutes and 21 seconds. Here's your winner, Dione the Titaness.
Well, there you have it. Madam Snoo Snoo does it again. And I gotta be brutally honest. She's pretty much got Asia Kong's number. I don't think Asia Kong can beat her. Plain and simple.
Certainly doesn't look that way. Dione the Titaness giving Asia Kong quite the battle here. We'll be right back with more RWL Rage in just a moment. Hello, Rock fans, as we continue up next, Legends Division Tag Action, the Soul Patrol, Tony Atlas and Mr. USA Rocky Johnson, set to face the team of, get this, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff and Rowdy Roddy Piper, putting the band back together again.
This Legends tag match, scheduled for one fall with a 20-minute time limit. Coming down the aisle, at a combined weight of 560 pounds. From Washington, D.C. Soulman Rocky Johnson, and from Roanoke, Virginia, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, the Soul Patrol.
Now, Marvin, you say you had a hand in putting back together the team of Orndorff and Piper. How did that come about exactly?
Like this. Orndorff is the Mid-Atlantic champion. Piper would have loved to have done a champion versus champion match, but he lost the Legends World title to Randy Savage. So, I suggested to him that maybe get together as a tag team, see what happens again. Maybe give the two kings a run for their money. They looked at each other, they nodded and said, yeah, all right. Harkens right back to the first days of WrestleMania 1, doesn't it?
Whole match has a classic vibe to it.
It certainly does.
Their opponents at a combined weight of 485 pounds, from Glasgow, Scotland, Roddy Piper, and from Tampa, Florida, the RWL Mid-Atlantic Champion, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
A classic pairing reunited. The only thing missing from this perfect picture would be Cowboy Bob Orton. In any case, Roddy Piper, now out of the Legends World Championship business, looking for something new and interesting to do, and apparently he and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff get to talking, and you get involved, Myron, and here we are, the tag team put back together again. Although Roddy Piper looks almost naked without the Legends World Championship, thanks to Macho Man Randy Savage.
And the very best part of all, guys, is the long, heated histories between all four of these stars, cause they've been banging heads a long time in a lot of different places. Plus, all of them have that old school mindset. Should be a classic, y'all.
That's what I think.
Myron, you deserve some degree of credit for reassembling the team of Piper and Orndorff. Mr. USA, And Mr. Wonderful starting off as Tom Canamora sounds the bell. They come center ring. They lock it up, collar and elbow. Flapjack face first into the canvas for Tony Atlas. Mr. Wonderful countered by Mr. USA with a left. Tony Atlas with a belly-to-belly suplex on Orndorff. A hard right, a couple of hard rights, a double shot to the midsection. Orndorff against the ropes. Mr. USA gives him the bum's rush to the outside. And he's getting ready to join him. Tony Atlas steps outside with Orndorff, kick to the midsection. And he is setting him up. Oh! Power bombed against the lip of the apron. Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, taking some pretty extreme measures. A Luthez press, a set of mounted punches from Mr. Wonderful to Tony Atlas. Atlas catches a kick to the midsection. Atlas counters with a kick to the midsection. Orndorff driven head first into the ring post. If Tex Lynch were here, his throat would be sore from singing. Mr. USA back in the ring, the referee counting Orndorff. And Piper catches it from Mr. USA, a double axe handle across the back of Orndorff. Tony Atlas cleaning house here. Mr. USA pitches Orndorff halfway across the ring by his ankle, covers and hooks the leg one. Barely just the one. Orndorff getting the shoulder up. Tony Atlas having to be held back by Tom Canamora. Orndorff accidentally tagged him with a backhand of the referee. Tony Atlas slams Orndorff down to the canvas. Roddy Piper still unavailable at his tag corner. He just stirred. And Tony Atlas turns it over to Rocky Johnson, the Soul Man. Here's a tag to Piper. Fresh partners all the way round. Running Bulldog from Rocky Johnson to Roddy Piper. Piper rounded up in a front cradle and into a follow-away slam from Rocky Johnson. Rocky Johnson tries for the bear hug. Piper says, oh no you don't. A set of hard right hands, a kick to the midsection and a DDT to Rocky Johnson. The hot rod turning it around pretty quickly. Roddy Piper locks it up with Rocky Johnson. Escorts him to his team's corner, head first into the turnbuckle. Here comes Paul Orndorff on the tag. Hard tilt to the midsection from Mr. Wonderful. Rocky Johnson whipped over the top rope out onto the floor. Roddy Piper rounding Roddy Johnson up. Orndorff going after Tony Atlas at his tag corner. Roddy Piper with an inverted atomic drop to Rocky Johnson on the other side of the ring. A hard right hand to Johnson from Piper. Orndorff hangs up Tony Atlas off the top rope. Down he goes. And this match has erupted into complete chaos. Two matches in one. It's like a three-ring circus. Orndorff on the top turnbuckle. I don't believe it. He's got some seriously bad intentions. Here he goes. Double axe handle from 10 feet up to Tony Atlas. Rocky Johnson back in the ring, still trying to get at Roddy Piper. Piper tags him with a right. Rocky Johnson whips Orndorff into the ropes. Everybody's back in the ring. And a pretty nice wraparound neck breaker from Rocky Johnson. A quick jab from the Soul Man to Orndorff and a snap suplex. Rocky Johnson covers, hooks the leg. One. Not even need for a rescue from Piper. Orndorff kicking out by himself. A shot right to the temple from Rocky Johnson, who takes a run for himself off the ropes. Cross-body splash, fails to find the mark. Orndorff back on his feet with a jab to Johnson. Slams him into the turnbuckle. Turns it over to Roddy Piper, and here's a double team incoming for the Soul Man. Piper off the top and a cross-body center ring to Rocky Johnson. Roddy Piper, the former Legends World Champion before Macho Man Randy Savage took that title from him, and he and Orndorff have rejoined forces after a very long time, and the team seems to be working pretty well right now. The Soul Patrol both laid out as Paul Orndorff is brought in on the tag. Orndorff preparing to go air again. Piper rounds him up. Rocky Johnson counters with a kick. Orndorff up to another turnbuckle to go after a laid-out Tony Atlas. Changes his mind this time. A running crossbody to the Soul Man. Orndorff covers and hooks the leg. 1, 2. A wise pin was Tony Atlas unavailable to make the save, but only a 2 count. Rocky Johnson sweeps the leg, takes Orndorff down to the canvas. Tony Atlas back at his tag corner. Orndorff with Rocky Johnson up over his shoulders in the fireman's carry, takes a walk to the other side of the ring, and snake eyes top turnbuckle for Rocky Johnson. A series of short staccato kicks to the chest of the Soul Man from Mr. Wonderful. The Mid-Atlantic champion firing on all cylinders right now as Tony Atlas comes in. There's a clothesline, takes Orndorff down to the canvas, and a kick to the head. Mr. USA stamping the hand and then kicking the arm of Mr. Wonderful. Orndorff laid out dead center ring. Tony Atlas off the top elbow drop right across the chest of Paul Orndorff. He took himself a seat right on Orndorff's chest, the way I throw myself into my Barca launcher when I'm home from work. Grinding the face of Paul Orndorff into the canvas, followed up with an elbow drop to the back. Orndorff rolls back up to his feet, catch out the running boot to the face from Mr. USA. No refuge for Paul Orndorff. One arm slammed into the canvas by Tony Atlas. Here's a pin 1. Roddy Piper right there to break it up. Atlas, he's mad. He's going after Piper, tags him with a right. Orndorff rounded up by Tony Atlas. And what a suplex from Mr. USA. Orndorff rolls out to the floor. Tony Atlas right out after him. Orndorff counters with an elbow. Takes himself back inside the ring. Here comes Tony Atlas right after him. Orndorff goes behind, rear waist lock, gets a hold of Atlas. Whips him to the ropes, elbow right to the face. Roddy Piper hanging onto the ropes for dear life. He's already been in a battle. Orndorff catches an elbow, a shoulder, to the back. Crashing into the corner. Tony Atlas gets a hold of him. Orndorff whipped to the opposing team's corner. Atlas misses with the running splash. Orndorff with a running crossbody takes Atlas down to the mat. Goes after Rocky Johnson, winds up getting hung up on the rope. Tony Atlas right there to pick up the pieces. A set of mounted punches of hard right hands right to the head of Mr. Wonderful. Tony Atlas preparing to go air. Here he goes off the top. There's an elbow across the chest of Mr. Wonderful. Here's a pin. 1, 2, 3. Well, now Roddy Piper too late to make the save. The Soul Patrol picking up the win by pinfall.
Here's the time, 7 minutes and 35 seconds. And your winners, Atlas and Johnson, the Soul Patrol.
Well, there's a win out of left field that nobody expected, but Roddy Piper just a second too late to make the save to Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and allowing Tony Atlas to get the 3-count pinfall in this Legends Tag Team matchup. What a matchup it was. When we return, more RWL Mat action in just a moment.
Already know, I manage a pretty extensive and still growing stable, so putting together a team for a 6-man tag shouldn't be a problem for me. I could have assembled a wild number of combinations, but because this 6-man tag is against Dutch Mantel and his unholy trinity, I wanted to present something special. Dutch, you, Bob Duncombe, and Prime Time. You got Snitsky and Sullivan, and their number 3-man, but let me not ruin the surprise. Can't wait to see your ugly mugs when you find out.
Strong words from Matthew James Ferrantino, who apparently still has unfinished business with Dutch Mantel and the Unholy Trinity. And tonight they will be facing Gene Snitsky, Lars Sullivan, and a mystery partner to be discovered right about now. And you won't believe who it is. So to be clear, this is someone outside of MJ Ferrantino's immediate stable? Absolutely correct. He's a regular here in RWL in the Legends division. He's been around for years, but he's just not part of the MJ Ferrantino group. But Ferrantino brought him in for the night for this 6-man tag. I guess on Batman they would have called him the special guest villain, and that's exactly who he is tonight. Well, I certainly can't wait to see who it is. But in the meantime, here is the arrival of the Unholy Trinity for this 6-man tag matchup.
The following 6-man tag team match, 1 fall, with a 20-minute time limit. Approaching the ring, at a combined weight of 800 pounds, Dirty Dutch Mantell, Big Bob Duncombe, and primetime Bobby Mills, the Unholy Trinity.
Just when everyone thought the thing between the Trinity and Ferrantino was cooling off here, we are again. But it's true, the tension between Ferrantino, Dutch, and his boys goes back a while. First, the Trinity hurt one of Ferrantino's guys in a tag match, and that got them jumped by both the Vandal brothers and the Texas Hangman, and they put Primetime on the injured list a few months on top of all that. But I see Ferrantino's the one restarting the feud here, probably because he can, with all that power behind him. But I wonder what set him off to do it. How was he miring when he made the deal? Because I think he knew exactly what he's going to do here tonight.
That's exactly what I think too. He was entirely too eager to sign. I figured, he's got all these people. He's going to bring, whoever the hell it is that put together the Vandal brothers and the Hangman and the Dr. Zodiac and whatever. But apparently he's got something extra special in mind for the Trinity tonight.
And so it looks like there is to be no lasting peace between the Unholy Trinity and the MJ Ferrantino group in this year of our Lord 2026.
Their opponents, representing the Ferrantino group, at a combined weight of 902 pounds, first, Lars Sullivan and Gene Snitsky.
And so we begin with the Devils we already know, Lars Sullivan and Gene Snitsky, a power package assembled by MJ Ferrantino when he signed Snitsky and paired him with the Lars Sullivan who had been discarded by Bell Unlimited. And now apparently he's got a third man lined up to work with Snitsky and Sullivan for the evening against the Holy Trinity, and I'm itching to find out who it is.
I'm telling you, you're not going to believe it. Neither one of you is going to believe it. And again, the clues are, he's a regular in the Legends division. He's been around for years. But he's not part of the MJ Ferrantino group.
Well, with that information, we await with bated breath the arrival of the partner of Snitsky and Sullivan.
And their tag team partner for the evening, from West Memphis,
Oh,
Arkansas,
no,
Psycho
he
Sid.
did, and
Are you kidding me? I don't believe it. Psycho Sid Udy. And we haven't seen him for the better part of 2 years.
Not since Snow, 2023. His last match was against Bam Bam Bigelow. And then, we didn't see him anymore. But it looks like MJ Ferrantino bought him lunch to make some kind of deal for a 6-man tag match. Because he's back tonight. I wonder if he's going to sign up with the Ferrantino group.
I can't imagine so. He's already got his hands full. His latest acquisition, Kanari Doku, as he put it, was going to be one of the things that puts a cap on this extensive roster of his.
Again, I don't know if it's just a one-shot deal. Ferrantino paid him for the evening. Or it might be the overture to a future deal. I really don't know. I don't know what's going on in Ferrantino's head. But I will tell you this. Putting together Lars Sullivan, Gene Snitsky, and Sid, that's a nasty trio right there.
The other possibility is that Sid is involved in this match on an on-trial basis, probably. Maybe Ferrantino's waiting to see how he fares in the trio with Gene Snitsky and Lars Sullivan.
That actually makes sense, and that's the way Ferrantino thinks. That's probably true.
And so Mr. Ferrantino with another trick up his sleeve as Big Bob Duncombe starts out against Gene Snitsky in this 6-man tag. Referee Charles Lucero sounds the bell. Snitsky swings and misses. Bobby Duncombe catches a fireman's carry instead. Snitsky gets countered by Duncombe. Snitsky puts on the brakes. One-arm slams Big Bob Duncombe. Snitsky gets a hold of Duncombe, whips him to the corner, and a clothesline and a cheap shot between Lars Sullivan and Gene Snitsky. Teamwork already making the dream work. Gene Snitsky with a deliberate choke on Big Bob Duncombe. No apologies here. Duncombe drives up the arm. A clothesline takes Snitsky down to the canvas. Duncombe gathers him up again. Whips him to the Unholy Trinity's corner. Prime time, Bobby Mills holding him.
while Duncombe delivers a knee to the midsection and a snap suplex. Big Bob Duncombe turning it over to Dirty Dutch Mantell. Snitsky back up to a standing position, catches a jawbreaker from Dutch. A double axe handle doesn't take Snitsky down. A kick to the midsection, take on a clothesline, takes Dutch Mantell flying, and here comes Psycho Sid. Oh my God. Sid rolls out after Dutch. Dutch counters with an elbow, can't seem to put the man down. Dutch in big trouble here. He can't seem to put down Sid. Sid keeps countering him. Dutch keeps countering him, but Sid continues to counter him in return. This is going absolutely nowhere. Mexican standoff. Top wrist lock seems to solve the problem only for a moment. Dutch Mantell with shots to the midsection of Sid. Whoa, look at this. Shots to the chest from Dutch Mantell to Sid. The dropkick doesn't find the mark. Sid tags him with the right. Lines up the arm. Dutch counters with a forearm. A couple of chops and a kick, and Sid still won't go down. Dutch Mantell finally succeeds in at least managing a Russian leg sweep to get Sid down to the floor. The referee continuing to count here. A kick to the midsection to Dutch Mantell. Sid countered by Dutch again. Dutch drives them into the ring post. Oh, my, this is not good. Oh! Deliberately driving the head into the ring post. Dutch Mantell countered by Lars Sullivan and slammed into the ring post himself. Sid gathers up Dutch. Grabs him into the ring post one more time. The ring post song playing in my head. Thank you, Tex, very much. Dutch Mantell goes into the lip of the apron. Sid drives him into it one more time, rolls himself back inside the ring. The referee continuing to count. Dutch Mantell makes his way back inside. A forearm and a forearm from Sid. Dutch whipped to the corner. Here comes Lars Sullivan on the tag, and a double team incoming for Dutch Mantell. Double back body drop, and down goes Dutch. Lars Sullivan taking over for his team. He quickly tags out. Here comes primetime Bobby Mills. Lars Sullivan takes him over the top and out onto the floor. Sullivan moves out, misses with a stomp. Primetime with a knee to the midsection of Lars Sullivan. Sullivan puts on the brakes, delivers a hard left. And another, and a third, and a right. Primetime Bobby Mills hurled to the other side of the outside of the ring. Primetime counters Lars Sullivan. Sullivan counters him, and a clothesline takes Primetime down to the floor again. And once more, a lot of counting for our referee this evening as Lars Sullivan hurls Primetime Bobby Mills mid-ring. Rounds him back up. Gets a hold on him. Finally gets him back inside. Lars Sullivan pitches him up against the ropes. Primetime hung up off the top rope. Down he goes. Sullivan drives the knee into the canvas. Lars Sullivan firmly in control of Primetime Bobby Mills. Pitches him halfway across the ring by his ankle. Lars Sullivan pacing around his corner, debating his next move. Primetime Bobby Mills absolutely motionless. He finally makes it back to his feet. Gets a hold of Sullivan. Sullivan says, "Oh, no, you don't," shot to the midsection. Sullivan with a dragon sleeper on Primetime Bobby Mills. Escorts him to his team's corner. Head first into the turnbuckle goes Primetime. Primetime counters, escapes the corner, and takes down G. Snitsky in the process. Primetime quickly backing off, turning it back over to Big Bob Duncombe. Lars Sullivan standing center ring waiting for him. Sullivan with a snapmare on Duncombe and a kick to the back. Lars Sullivan given a hell of a second chance by MJ Ferrantino after Scott Bell not only fired Lars Sullivan but assaulted him, dispatching him from Bell Unlimited. A clothesline from Duncombe doesn't even take Sullivan down. He grabs him, he whips him to his team's corner. Down goes the referee, Charles Lacera, temporarily out to lunch. Bob Duncombe hung up on the top rope by Lars Sullivan. Here comes Dutch Mantell. Sullivan back in the ring, catches a couple of kicks to the leg from Dutch. A couple of chops. Sullivan counters with a hard right. Double choke lift by the throat
Dutch Mantell counters it into an arm drag. Dutch whipped to the opposing team's corner by Sullivan. Prime time, looking to get some help here, but no way. The referee says, oh no you don't. There's a clothesline from Dutch to Sullivan. Lars Sullivan rounded up into a dragon sleeper by Dutch. He's got him. He's going to lay him up against the ropes. Oh, what a set of disrespectful slaps from Dutch. He bounces off the ropes and what a drop kick right to the midsection of Lars Sullivan. Oh, this does not bode well. Everybody's in the pool, all three of them, and they're going to treat Lars Sullivan to a triple powerbomb. And this is not good at all. Sullivan crashes to the canvas with devastating force. Dutch Mantell quickly covers, hooks the leg. 1, 2, 3. Well, that was not the outcome anyone was hoping for. The Unholy Trinity wins by pinfall.
Here's the time, 7 minutes and 52 seconds. Your winners, the Unholy Trinity.
Okay, this is not the ending I was exactly expecting, and I'm pretty sure it's not the ending MJ Ferrantino ordered by bringing in Psycho Sid. An upset win for the Unholy Trinity. Well, boy, what a mess.
MJ Ferrantino has a little bit of egg on his face at the expense of the Unholy Trinity. Ladies and gentlemen, when we return, more tag team action right after the break.
And so it came to pass that the gods and goddesses of the squared circle came to clash in violent spectacle on a day when old rivalries were settled and new rivalries were born in the one place big enough and grand enough to hold it all, RWL Coliseum Games.
Starting Tuesday, January 27th.
In their previous appearance on RWL Snarl, the Hart Foundation falling to the APA. Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart back tonight, ready to face Chris Wilde and Jeff Fortune, the team of Wild Fortune.
The following tag team match, scheduled for one fall with a 20-minute time limit. Approaching the ring at a combined weight of 525 pounds, from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, Bret the Hitman Hart, and from Reno, Nevada, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the Hart Foundation.
Well, Bret and the Anvil definitely in the market for a win, especially after losing to Farouk and Bradshaw at Snarl. I don't know their chances are going to be any better against Wild Fortune, former tag team champions with a reputation for beating some of the biggest teams in the business.
Their opponents, at a combined weight of 465 pounds, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Chris Wilde, and from Loch Lomond, Virginia, Jeff Fortune, Wild Fortune.
Over 12 years with the company, multiple tag team championship runs, and Chris Wilde is a former Memphis Million winner. Wild Fortune, certainly with a huge reputation in their rookie year. In their first few months within RWL, defeating Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA and getting themselves quite a bit of notoriety.
It don't look good for the Hart Foundation, does it?
Jim the Anvil Neidhart giving Jeff Fortune more than a little bit of the side eye as referee Charles Lucero sounds the bell. Whoa, Jeff Fortune accidentally tagging the referee on that one. He caught the knee meant for Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the Anvil, with a clubbing blow to the chest of Jeff Fortune and a couple of kicks. Jeff Fortune laid out center ring as Jim the Anvil Neidhart proceeds to put the boots and fists to the face of Jeff Fortune. Hard right hands from the Anvil. And right back in on the attack a second time. Jeff Fortune catching knuckles to the side of the temple from Jim the Anvil Neidhart. And the Anvil not giving Jeff Fortune any sort of wiggle room. The Anvil all the way up off the top, big time crossbody, catches a pair of knees from Jeff Fortune. And here comes Chris Wilde. Chris Wilde catches a right from the Anvil. The Anvil's got him up for the suplex, but Chris Wilde counters, goes behind. German release suplex to the Anvil instead. Chris Wilde, of course, a Memphis Millionaire at one time. Came in number 15 and survived the rest of the field. For that year, he was known as the Memphis Miracle. Chris Wilde counters a throat chop from the Anvil. Gets a hold of the Anvil, and whoa, nice vertical suplex from Chris Wilde. A stomp to the face of the Anvil. Jim the Anvil Neidhart being wound up for the crossface by Chris Wilde. He's got it locked in. The Anvil has nowhere to go. He's going to have to force his way out, and he successfully does so. A hard right to the face of Chris Wilde. Chris, escorted towards the ropes by Jim Neidhart. Neidhart turns him around, nails him with a couple of hard forearms to the back as he bounces back and forth off the ropes. There's an elbow right to the top of the forehead of Chris Wilde. Jim the Anvil Neidhart, very aggressive in this matchup so far, swinging a miss from Chris. A hard right, a hard left, and a double axe handle to Chris Wilde from Jim the Anvil Neidhart. The Anvil with a headlock punch on Chris Wilde. Chris Wilde just being stricken every which way that's conceivably possible. Hung up the top rope, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. A machine here, going to work on Chris Wilde. Over the top and out to the floor on the wrong side of town. Another elbow to the forehead of Chris Wilde, who will definitely want to consider tagging out at this point. He is taking far too much abuse at the hands of Jim the Anvil Neidhart. The Anvil catches a leg sweep from Chris Wilde, who rounds up the Anvil. Tries to kick, but gets countered. There's a throat chop from the Anvil. A clothesline takes Chris Wilde down. It would have been better for him to get back inside the ring. Chris with a kick to the midsection of the Anvil. Gets a hold of Neidhart. Pitches him towards the barricades. Makes his way back inside the ring. Jim the Anvil Neidhart indicating to the fans that no harm was done. Whoa! Chris Wilde with a disastrous move right there, went over the top rope and face first into the barricade. And he's mad about it. He's going to make Jim the Anvil Neidhart pay for it. A set of shots to the face, a stomp to the face. Chris Wilde, mighty provoked about that fail on that high-risk maneuver. The Anvil hurling him towards the timekeeper's area as Jim the Anvil Neidhart makes his way to his corner, and for the first time we get the excellence of execution. Bret the Hitman Hart in for his team, the Hart Foundation. Hard up for a win these days. A kick to the midsection of Chris Wilde. Bret the Hitman Hart whips him over the top rope, out onto the apron, hangs him up off the top rope, and right down to the floor he goes again. Bret the Hitman Hart goes right out after him, catches an elbow to the midsection from Chris. Chris rounded up over the shoulder in a fireman's carry by the Hitman, but he counters it. Inverted DDT out there on the floor. The back of Bret Hart's head bouncing off that floor. Rolling elbow doesn't find the mark. A kick to the midsection does Chris Wilde. Rounds him up for a suplex. Bret the Hitman Hart. Now he's starting to take a beating on the outside. An elbow to the chest again from Chris Wilde. And it has been all Chris Wilde. For the first quarter of this match, Jeff Fortune hasn't even had a tag yet. Here's a crossface on the outside. He could tap out and it wouldn't matter. Chris Wilde releasing the hold. No. Bret Hart counters the hold and escapes it. The Hitman finally getting Chris back inside the ring. Jeff Fortune begging to be let in, and he does. Jeff Fortune taking over for Wild Fortune. A kick to the midsection of Bret the Hitman Hart. Jeff Fortune rounds him up for a vertical suplex. Oh, no, slam face first into the canvas. Jeff Fortune switching things up, gets slammed to the canvas himself by Bret the Hitman Hart. The Hitman takes himself to the top turnbuckle. Jeff stands up. Here we go. Nobody caught it. Hardly anyone caught anything. Jeff Fortune whipped to the Hart Foundation's corner. Bret the Hitman Hart drives him face first into the turnbuckle. The Hitman with a hard right and a second. Jeff Fortune catches a chop across the chest. He rolls out and collapses towards center ring. Bret the Hitman Hart gathers him back up again. Whoa, spinning clothesline to Jeff Fortune. Oh, he's favoring his neck. Here comes Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
And the Hart Foundation, firmly in control of Wild Fortune at the present time. The Anvil with a throat chop to Jeff. Takes him towards the corner, head first into the turnbuckle. Goes Jeff Fortune. Jeff counters with an elbow to Jim the Anvil Neidhart. A hard right. But the Anvil counters again, tags him with a right to the face. The Anvil gathers him up. A nice suplex from Jim Neidhart. Jeff Fortune gathered up again by Anvil. The Anvil tries for the... Oh, no dice. Jeff Fortune was on to him. The Anvil counters with a shot to the midsection. Swings and misses like a bear swiping his paw. Gets a hold of Jeff Fortune. Another suplex from Jim the Anvil Neidhart, who turns it over to Bret the Hitman Hart on the tag. Jeff Fortune laid out near the corner as Bret the Hitman Hart drives a knee into the arm of Jeff Fortune. A kick to the back. The Hart Foundation firmly in control this time. Here's a tag to Chris Wilde. Into a power slam out of no place. Chris Wilde tags Bret with a right. Bret counters with elbows to the midsection. Bret the Hitman Hart countered by Chris Wilde. A chop across the chest from Chris. Bret the Hitman Hart escorted to the far right corner. Head first into the turnbuckle he goes. Chris turns him around. Double axe handle across the back. And again, face first into the turnbuckle. A boot to the chest. A second. Chris Wilde turning things around here for Wild Fortune. How quick and in a hurry. Driving the knee of Bret the Hitman Hart into the canvas. Follows that up with a stomp. Chris Wilde gathers up the Hitman. Hard whip to the ropes. He fails to connect with the grapple. Bret puts on the brakes. There's a kick to the midsection from Chris. And a clubbing overhand right. Down goes Bret the Hitman Hart. Chris Wilde dragging the Hitman towards center. He was trying to get to his corner. He shoves away Chris with both boots. Gets a hold of Chris Wilde. Bret the Hitman Hart with a pile driver on Chris Wilde. No doubt an absolute desperation maneuver. Bret Hart determined to put a stop to Chris Wilde's aggression. Chris trying to make it to a standing position, but no good to Hitman. He's locking in the sharpshooter. Chris Wilde in trouble. Jeff Fortune trying to make it. But, oh my, it is too late. Chris Wilde tapping out. The Hart Foundation picking up a win over Wild Fortune by submission. Let's get the official time from Aria Mitchell.
Here's the time, 8 minutes and 34 seconds. And your winners, the Hart Foundation.
Yeah, I got tons of respect for Chris and Jeff. But it does my heart good to see the Hart Foundation finally pick up one, for crying out loud. The Hart Foundation, very happy with this win over Wild Fortune. Now they need to chain a few more behind it. Bret the Hitman Hart nailing Jeff Fortune with that pile driver. And then ending it with the sharpshooter. Ladies and gentlemen, when we return, our main event for the evening, a triple threat match to determine who will be Warlord Santos' next opponent for the King of Legends Championship. In our main event tonight, the Mexican monolith Warlord Santos will defend the King of Legends title at Coliseum Games against one of these three men, Superstar Billy Graham, Rikishi Fatu, or Bruiser Brody. Who's going to Coliseum Games? Let's find out.
Tonight's Rage main event, a triple threat match, one fall, with a 15-minute time limit. Introducing first, from the island of Samoa, weighing 325 pounds, Rikishi Fatu.
Let's break this down, because we got three big-time stars, and any of them could be the #1 contender for the King of Legends belt. But who's most likely? And is Rikishi a likely winner? I'll tell you, Brody has a big edge, but Superstar Billy Graham is a threat to win as well. Rikishi has a shot, but the best strategy is for him to keep Brody down on the mat.
That's actually the best strategy for both of them, Christy. If they've got to keep Brody out of the loop and keep it between Rikishi and Graham if either one of them wants to have a chance to win.
His opponent, from Paradise Valley, Arizona, weighing 285 pounds, superstar Billy Graham.
The Superstar, engaging in a little singles action this evening, setting aside his tag team partnership with Jesse the Body Ventura for an opportunity to become the King of Legends champion, and Superstar Billy Graham firmly believes that King of Legends title would look a lot better around his waist than that of Warlord Santos.
And I don't know, I don't think he's going to be able to pull it off. Santos is too hot. No matter which one of them wins, they are all going to face a very tough situation at Coliseum Games against the Mexican Monolith.
Now, if we look at it, by the number of gold possessions, well, Superstar Billy Graham is a multi-time former champion here in RWL, so is Bruiser Brody. Rikishi Fatu, however, has never held any single or tag team title, neither single or as a tag team with his partner Samoa Joe.
And from Santa Fe, New Mexico, weighing 312 pounds, Bruiser Brody.
Brody made his return recently after a reasonably long chunk of time away and won his first match in his return. And now going into this #1 contenders match for the King of Legends title against Warlord Santos and facing Rikishi Fatu and Superstar Billy Graham in a match with no rules, no countouts, this match definitely favors Bruiser Brody.
Let's not write off Graham or Rikishi to quick though. Remember that they could maybe work together to keep Brody under some kind of control and maybe try to keep the match to just themselves as potential winners.
Possible, but not easy.
Well, which of these talented individuals is going to face Warlord Santos for the King of Legends title? One of these three gentlemen is going to do it. Let's find out which one. As referee Charles Lucero sounds the bell, Graham immediately attacked by Rikishi Fatu, an elbow to the face. Bruiser Brody taking his time, just letting them work themselves to death. Graham catches the kick to the midsection from Brody, a jab, a left. Brody puts on the brakes, delivers a knee to the midsection. Gouges the face of Superstar Graham. Tags him with a hard right hand, goes behind on him in a rear waistlock, escorts him towards the corner. But he is resisting. Superstar Graham head first into the turnbuckle. Brody turning his attention to Rikishi Fatu. Rikishi with the upper hand and a vertical suplex. Rikishi goes to work on Brody. There's a headbutt taking him down. Superstar Graham just coming out of the corner, and he is provoked. Rikishi Fatu locked up by Graham, goes behind on him. Rear suplex. Superstar Billy Graham gathers up Rikishi. Rikishi counters with a dragon screw. Bruiser Brody still laid out from his exchange with Rikishi Fatu. Rikishi gathers up Superstar Billy Graham. Superstar Graham counters into a back body drop, piling right on top of Bruiser Brody. Brody didn't appreciate that one bit. A couple of hard shots, a left to the midsection, a stomp to the midsection, and a kick to the chest. Graham rolls out. He don't want no more. Belly to belly suplex to Rikishi Fatu. Talk about power on Bruiser Brody. 350 pounds almost effortlessly. Brody rounds up Rikishi Fatu. Graham still on the outside. No countouts in a triple threat match. No disqualification. So the referee does not need to count. Rikishi Fatu putting the boots to Bruiser Brody as Graham makes his way back inside the ring. Superstar still hasn't picked up a weapon yet. Don't know why. Kick to the midsection to Rikishi from Brody. Brody countered. Graham rounded up by Rikishi Fatu. He quickly counters. Rikishi Fatu backs off quick. Quick takedown from Superstar Billy Graham. Rikishi Fatu laid out. Bruiser Brody catching a chop across the chest and a kick right to the face from Superstar Graham. Rikishi Fatu rolls to the outside as Graham puts the boots to Bruiser Brody. Rikishi Fatu still laid out. Rear chin lock from Superstar Graham on Brody. Brody finding his way out, sweeps the leg, takes Graham down to the canvas. Hard right from Brody to Graham. Graham rounded up over the shoulders in a fireman's carry. Brody takes him to the corner, head first into the turnbuckle, down into the corner goes Superstar Graham. And Brody putting the boots. But Graham counters, slams Brody face first into the canvas. Rikishi Fatu finally makes his way back inside. A dragon screw from Brody. Rikishi Fatu engaging in a little dancing while he waits for an opportunity. Brody Locks it up with Rikishi. Up over the shoulders goes Bruiser Brody. Superstar Graham working himself into a lather. Head first into the turnbuckle goes Brody. Superstar Graham gets a hold of Rikishi for two. Places him up against the ropes. Turns him around and starts delivering hard forearms to Rikishi's back while dribbling him off the ropes. Bruiser Brody just waiting his turn. Graham with a wrist clutch, knee to the face to Rikishi, and here's a pin attempt, but Brody right there to break it up. A chop across the chest from Superstar Graham to Bruiser Brody. Brody rounded up over the shoulder of Superstar Graham, escorted towards the far left corner, head first into the turnbuckle. Down goes Brody. Graham turns his attention to Rikishi, drops him face first into the turnbuckle, gets a hold of him. There's a kick to the midsection. And a double arm suplex from Superstar Billy Graham. Graham winds up the arm on Brody. Not once but twice. Rikishi for two rolls to the outside. Graham from behind on Brody. Places him up against the ropes. Gets pitched over the top rope out onto the floor. Brody takes himself to the top turnbuckle. Superstar Graham making his way to a standing position. Rikishi for two likewise. Double axe handle does not find the mark. Bruiser Brody misses the distance by a couple of inches. Gets a hold of Graham. Rounds him up. And, oh man, just slams him on the floor and now stamping his boot into the chest of Superstar Graham. Rikishi for two. Whipped to the corner by Brody. Brody delivering knees to the midsection of Rikishi for two. And now Brody countered by Rikishi for two. Slam fast face first into the canvas. Superstar Graham taking his time about getting back in there. Rikishi for two with a running power slam on Brody, but Graham right there to break it up. Rikishi for two catches a slap across the chest from Superstar Graham. Graham rounds him up, has him up over the shoulder, hangs him up off the top rope. Down goes Rikishi for two. Bruiser Brody attempted to be rounded up by Graham for a bear hug, but no good. A forearm does the trick, but takes Brody down to the canvas. Rikishi for two. Catches the chop across the face. A second, a left. Graham rounds him up. There's a backbreaker from Superstar Graham to Rikishi for two. Again, Brody biding his time, waiting for a target. And the target is Superstar Graham. Graham rounds him up for a suplex. Rikishi for two. Moves in on Graham, locks him up. Has him up. Oh, Samoan drop from Rikishi for two. Fast and sudden. Brody with a shot to Rikishi for two. Gets him by the throat. He's got him by the throat, and he is squeezing. Tongan death grip. Possible submission here. The referee checking it out. Superstar Graham on the outside, unable to do anything. Brody not releasing the hold. Takes him down. The bell is rung. That is it. Bruiser Brody will be facing Warlord Santos for the King of Legends title at Coliseum Games. Let's get the official time from Aria Mitchell.
Here's the time, 5 minutes and 47 seconds, and your winner, Bruiser Brody.
Now that it's over, I'll be completely honest. I figured it was either going to be Brody or Graham. I didn't think Rikishi Fatu stood much of a chance. But now it's going to be Bruiser Brody versus Warlord Santos for the King of Legends title. It most certainly is, Myron. Bruiser Brody choking out Rikishi Fatu with the Tongan death grip to get the win, while Superstar Billy Graham laid outside the ring, barely conscious. What a main event, and what a great edition of RWL Rage we've had this week. But all good things must come to an end, as must this edition of RWL Rage. As always, we thank all of you for joining us and for supporting RWL as you do. It is appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, we will return on Saturday, the 24th, with RWL Snarl, with Wally Cardell, Johnny Bianco, and Hangman Take Lunch, and on the 27th, for Coliseum Games, the Supercard. For all of us here at RWL, I've been Don Hickson. Thank you, good night, and we'll see you next time at ringside.